Hello and welcome to Top Story. In Lebanon, the clock is ticking on Parliament's efforts to elect a new president to replace the outgoing and pro-Syrian Emil Lahoud. After 2 months of trying and failing to agree on a successor, Parliament has again postponed the ballot, this time until Friday, the day Lahoud has to step down. Under Lebanon's confessional system, the president has to be a Maronite Christian. Failure to choose a successor would plunge the country still deeper into crisis and could lead to the emergence of two rival governments, one anti-Syrian and the other dominated by Hezbollah and supported by Damascus. If no president is elected by Friday, the constitution provides for the president's powers to be transferred to the Prime Minister, Fouad Siniora. But President Lahoud has said he would rather appoint a rival government than let that happen. Without prior agreement on a candidate for the presidency, there's no chance that Parliament will achieve the two-thirds quorum needed to legitimise the vote. Well, joining me now to discuss the standoff in Lebanon is Nadim Fraiha, who is a representative of the Free Patriotic Group supporting opposition leader Michel Aoun. Thanks very much for being on Top Story. The vote's been postponed again. Friday now is the real crunch day, isn't it? Is there any chance that an agreement will be reached now?
Well, thank you for inviting me here. Of course, I mean, we all Lebanese have a lot of hope that that an agreement will be reached by Friday. But I think that the major stake here is not to just find any president to be appointed at the presidency, but find first a president who has a representativity among Christians. As you said, the Lebanese confessional system means that having a representative of the Christian community at the head of the state and of the Muslim community at the head, I mean, as a prime minister and as a chief of parliament. And the second major point in the presidency is to have an agreement of major issues in Lebanon, which are with the weapon of the Hezbollah, and also the implementation of the 1559 and international, UN resolutions concerning Lebanon.
The French Foreign Minister, Bernard Kouchner, who is one of those trying to help achieve a compromise in Lebanon, said yesterday that someone is blocking a compromise. He didn't say who that someone is, but do you have any idea?
Well, if it's only one person, this would be great. I think there are many persons trying to stop the election in Lebanon, and we rely on Mr. Kouchner to say exactly who is doing this. What is important, I mean, what's happening today in Lebanon is that instead of electing a representative for the Christian party, the Hariri coalition is trying to appoint a puppet, which we cannot accept. I mean, we've been suffering from Syrian occupation for over...
The problem is that both sides accuse each other of trying to appoint puppets. You accuse the majority side of trying to appoint a puppet, a pro-American puppet, and they accuse you of trying to appoint a pro-Syrian puppet.
Yeah, I mean, pro-Syrian, we cannot mention Michel Aoun as a pro-Syrian puppet. He's fought the Syrians...
as a candidate for the presidency, though.
Yes, I mean, Michel Aoun was the only person to fought against the Syrian during 17 years, while the Hariri coalition were working with the Syrian during these years and having the government under the Syrian occupancy. The problem here in Lebanon is that democracy has become like religion. Everybody believes in it and few people practice it. So there is democratic vote that was done in 2005, and General Aoun was elected at 70% as a representative for the Christians. So if we have to follow the consensual agreement that we have among Lebanese, President Michel Aoun should be appointed as a president by the parliament. But the coalition of Hariri do not want to see an independent person coming at the head of the state, and they want to appoint somebody who has no legitimacy. The surveys today in Lebanon mentioned that Michel Aoun has 54% of the general vote, from 54 to 60%, whereas the one Hariri would like to appoint has less than 5%. How can we accept that?
What really is at the heart of this dispute? Because for an outsider, it's very hard to get to grips with really what is going on. Why for instance, did Michel Aoun and Hezbollah and Nabi Berri's group leave the cabinet last November? What was the heart of the dispute with the majority in the government? Well,
we cannot speak anymore about majority and opposition because there is no majority now in Lebanon. I'm trying to find one. Basically, there are two different points here. Hezbollah was entered the government because he entered the election in coalition with the Hariri. And then Hariri did not fill their agreement with Hezbollah. Hariri, when he brought Hezbollah to the parliament and to the government, they promised them to keep their weapons and to keep their right to fight against Israel. Whereas at the same time, they promised the Occidental, Western democracy to disarm Hezbollah, which they could not do. And this is why Hezbollah left the government when they saw when they have seen that the government was lying to them. As far as concerning Michel Aoun, he was never included in the government, and because he was never proposed a ministry portfolio, the four minister portfolio that he was supposed to get. So the first step for the Hariri coalition was to put the Christian out of the government, and now they put, since last November, part of the Muslims, which are the Shia, out of the government, and these two parts represent 2/3 of the population in Lebanon. So today the government is a minority in the country, and this is why we need a new election in Lebanon.
The consequences of not finding an agreement by Friday are almost unthinkable for Lebanon, aren't they?
As a matter of fact, we have lived these consequences again in 1988. And it was a disaster after, because we have to fight against foreign interferences, and it was Syria at that time. So
you had two governments then, and the possibility exists that there could be two governments again now.
Exactly. What we wish, if there is no agreement upon the president, the democratic solution would be to appoint a transitional government who would elaborate a new electoral law and run an election within 6 months period, and have a new parliamentary representing the Lebanese people in the parliaments, electing a new president. This would be a peaceful solution for everybody, I think. In democracy, we have always a solution, and a peaceful one.
Are you an optimist about Friday? Do you think there will be a positive vote, that a compromise will be reached?
I'm optimistic if the Lebanese decide themselves to find out a solution for their problems. If one part of the Lebanese, that's mean the Hariri coalition, decide to have the support of foreign countries in order to design a non-representative president, this won't be a right solution, and we will find out then what are the solutions that we can take, and the solution will be in any case peaceful for the Lebanese.
And that's where we have to end it, I'm afraid. Thanks very much to Nadim Fraya. Join us again tomorrow for another edition of Top Story. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.